Hi, everyone. My name is Les Velez, and welcome to the Opus interview series. Opus, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization founded in 1994. Our mission, simply put, is to help people that are having paranormal experiences, and I'm the co-founder and chairman. And for more information about Opus, please go to our website at opusnetwork.org. I am very happy, excited, and pleased to have with me tonight Saly Elka. Saly is quite an interesting person. And let me read you her bio. This is fascinating. Saly is a shamanic seer who works with her own psychic abilities, energy, and tarot. Saly is a manifester who uses her gifts to connect and to assist the collective, meaning the people, I would imagine, in rediscovering their innate psychic abilities and exercising their true human power. She has her own YouTube channel and loves compassionate connection and co-creation. Saly can provide insight into the dream world and extradimensional contact. She has had many consciousness, and I have to be careful with that word, conscious versus consciousness, abduction experiences since she was young, and navigates the astral layers with full lucidity. Although Saly has studied astrology for over 10 years, her greatest desires lie in exercising her innate psychic qualities. She has a thirst for expansion and finds great resonance with the law of one, raw materials of which she has studied extensively. Saly hopes to help those who find peace and power through self-reflection, energy work, tarot cards, and psychic awareness. Saly connects with the reptilian energy. This to me is extremely interesting, and is a proud and authentic reptilian representative who understands the trauma and fear that the collective has held onto for far too long. Saly has been involved in hybrid programs and is a genetic mother to many hybrid children. Due to this connection, she also works with a Mantis who undersees the program's genetic engineering. The last paragraph just blows my mind. But I'm not going to start there. I want to go way back to the beginning and to try to understand how Saly Elka basically, first of all, okay, I'm going to go back a little farther. Where do you live?
Where I live in Australia, over in the Southern Hemisphere, and it's really beautiful over here.
Oh my goodness. So let's see now. You're going into your summer, I think. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, we've
Ah,
got our back.
oh, that's great. That's great. These abilities that you talk about, when did they get started? When did you notice your psychic abilities?
Look, I think with me, I was the type of child that um, never really let go of these potentialities. So, as a child, I think I was aware that they were a potential within the human, but as society doesn't really allow us to delve too deeply into that and exercise that for quite some time, my abilities did remain dormant. But it's like with anything, once we start paying more attention to it, focusing on it, and exercising that ability, then it becomes a lot stronger. And it would have been just before my son was born, so about 11 years ago now, 11, 12 years ago, that those abilities really started to amp up, and I couldn't really ignore them at that point.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. I mean, when you notice these things happening, what give us an example of what kind of made you feel that way? What actually
Yeah.
happened?
Well, actually, I remember a specific period in time before my son was born. It was about a year to 2 years before he was born. And it was a funny time, you know, because I was really questioning my own mental health, which I think that a lot of us who do have these significant experiences, if we're not supported in allowing those to come to fruition, then we really do just find the whole experience very confusing. But I was working in a shoe store actually at the time, and somebody came in to buy a pair of shoes, and they handed me the card, and I took the card and said something to them and looked at them, and they spoke straight to me but didn't open their mouth at all. And it was the strangest experience, and I thought that I was going crazy. It was at the end of the shift. I was actually closing the store. He was a very strange man. I really don't remember too much about him. He was wearing a hat, and he just kind of disappeared. And that experience just left me completely bewildered. But I think it was what I needed to really kind of kickstart and remind me of the potentials that we have in this reality.
You know, this is an interesting thing that you just said, because I've had experience with other people that are like in our support group, the Opus support group that which we have, that people talk about the fact that people do come into their lives, and all of a sudden they have these interactions, but the lips are not moving.
I've actually heard the same thing after my experience. You know, later on, I've spoken about it and heard from other people that they've had this same sort of experience. So maybe that's what it takes. Maybe we sometimes need a little kick from our friends above.
Well, it seems to be the case, and you know, this is how things get rolling, so to speak, and you know, you have this realization that something is different, and that it leaves you with this big question. Okay, so how the hell did that happen, and what does that mean? You know, and when that happened to you, what did you come away with? What were your thoughts about that?
Well, like I said, was really doubting my own mental health at the time. I went and saw a doctor. I went and saw a GP, and they misdiagnosed me and you know, threw out a few mental health conditions that they thought that it might be, and it didn't sit right, because I'm sort of I've always just gone with what feels right in my own gut, and in my soul that just didn't feel right to me. I think after that I got swept up in, you know, I had my son and things like that. And then when he was a couple of years old, I really started to deeply go back into these experiences and try to find, you know, inquire what was going on internally.
No, you know, and this is an interesting point that you bring up, because I think that a lot of people that are having these types of experiences, the first thing they think about is that, oh my goodness, I might have a mental issue going on. You know, do I have a psychopathology involved? And then they go to a doctor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and then they find out they don't have a psychopathology. They're not crazy. So then what? You know, what's the next step? So how did you deal with that after you found out that, okay, so I'm okay, now what?
So after my son was born, I guess it became first and foremost on my mind that, you know, my own mental health, emotional stability, all of these things were very, very important to raise a child. So as I started to harness, you know, my own ego and work on myself and do that internal work, these experiences did start to happen more and more as I was paying attention to them. It wasn't until that I was actually working as a veterinary nurse, and I was at the end of the rope, I suppose. My emotional, physical, spiritual health, it was just all gone. And I quit my job and stayed at home with my son and went through a bit of a rediscovery process, and actively worked on these things. So that was when I really started to engage and started to, do a lot more research and really started to take myself through the practices, meditating and things like that, because that was something that I really never was, in my opinion, very good at. So once I started to, do that self-inquiry and raise my own vibration, then those things just started to happen more and more naturally. And as I was conscious to it, it made more sense to me.
No, it's an amazing journey that we all go on. And I always believe this is a very much a spiritual process that we're going through. It's a realization that we're not alone, that there's another reality that exists that we truly don't understand. And people like yourself are somewhat more open to this whole process. And so one of the questions that I wanted to talk to you about was what motivated you to assist people in rediscovering their innate abilities and things of that. What was it, the tipping point when that all started, and how did that process?
Well, I know that I've been interested in some channeling, the law of one channeling. So it wasn't
Before
until I think
I was going to say, before you go on, talk about the law of ones to explain that to the audience.
Sure. So the law of one was channeled information. It was channeled in the 80s, and this information was channeled by a group of people. And the information that has come through is just so profound. There is quite an extensive amount of work that's been accumulated over a number of years. Reading this information, because I wasn't brought up religious or anything like that, so reading this information was quite really quite life-changing, and it gave me some really deep new perspectives, and it also, I think, solidified a lot of things that I already really knew in my heart and soul. One of the big, I suppose, lessons or aspects of the work does focus on how we can be of service to others, and that's not to be of service and bypass our own self, because we are others all as one. So once I really started to, I suppose, put my own ego aside, get out of my own self, and realize that there were, there's a reality outside of myself that I really desire to start connecting to. And once I took that step outside of myself, I was able to assist others. And my desire to do that, I think, really stemmed from the fact that I've got a big ego. I have been hard on myself. I have spent a lot of years hating myself to the core, hating others, being so angry and being in so much pain. I've been through a lot of painful experiences, and it really just got to a point where I just didn't want to hurt anymore because it was so painful. But I'd fought myself for so long, and realizing my power and ability to take that back, it was like, I have to assist others to do this, because I know that if I can do it, every single other person is capable of that.
Oh, that's fascinating, because, over the years, listening to various pundits talk about, the fact that we all have this capability. We all have this capability, and whether or not we practice it, or that we let it happen, or we're open to it, is very important. And I think that this goes back to also why certain people are having communication with these non-human intelligences, and that they seem to be more open to these types of things versus other people that are very closed to it. So, you know, doing what you're doing and trying to help people, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Saly, for that. One of the other questions that I think I threw out there for you, you mentioned that you had many consciousness, okay, instead of conscious abductions. What does that mean really to us? Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So over my time, I guess I've had lots of different experiences. As a child, I used to, and I still do, lucid dream most nights. And in some of these dreams, I am taken somewhere and having an experience with, you know, beings that are not human. I just kind of thought my whole life that everyone just experienced dreams like this, and I just didn't really talk about it because I just thought that was just a normal dreaming. But as I've explored my own self and the way that I receive and perceive different things, I've realized that those dreams have been quite significant, and some of those dreams do mirror aspects of abductions, but it didn't really occur to me that it might be an abduction until I started speaking to, I guess, more people who had had these experiences. I think we're programmed to believe that the experiences we have are going to be the density physical experiences. You know, we look out the window and we might see a little gray alien walking along, but it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
I think that though that dynamic can definitely be difficult to comprehend and analyze, because it does feel like it's a little bit further away, and it does feel like a bit of a dream experience. So it can be difficult for us to analyze those things.
Well, we have multiple realities, I believe. You know, we have this physical reality here on the earth, but then there's multiple other realities that intersect with what we are experiencing on a daily basis. Some of us perceive those other realities, others don't. And I think that this is something that's, you know, been part of our existence ever since we've been here. Whatever here is, that's an whole nother story. But anyway, you also mentioned something about astrology. Tell us a little bit more about how you got involved with astrology and what kind of meaning that has at this point, because a lot of people talk about astrology saying, oh, well, it's just a bunch of baloney, but tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, astrology is very, very important to me, and it's holds a big place in my heart. So I started studying Western and Vedic probably about 15 years ago. It was at the time, I suppose, a way that I could do the self-inquiry and connect with myself on a little bit of a deeper level, but I didn't really take it too seriously. It was just I love to research and learn, so it was just all about the journey, I suppose. But it wasn't until about maybe like 7 years ago that I really went a lot deeper into the different mapping systems that we have available. And you know, the Law of One discusses tarot and astrology as well. So that was definitely a plus that I could sort of aid with my knowledge. But they are just mapping systems. And so we've got the energies of this entire universe, and those energies stream on a large scale, you know, from the planets themselves and how they move and express themselves. And then that same energy trickles down in every aspect of this reality. So through us, through our plants, we see it through our seasons, we see it through our animals and their behavior, we see it through the all different things like that. And so the more that we can understand about this mapping system, the more that we can understand about the energies within this reality and how we can utilize them and harness them and make them work for us, with us, in our favor.
Do people come to you and say, you know, I'd like to have my my reading done, my horoscope done? Is that something that you do?
Yeah, so I like to work with people on a wide, like with a wide variety of different things. So it might be, you know, one-on-one empowerment, but it also might be aided with some astrology. We might have a look at the transits and see what's going on in their life currently. I really love to teach people. That's my biggest thing, is that I don't want to be seeing the same client again and again and again. I'd love to just empower them and give them the tools and the resources that they need to take away and empower themselves.
Mm. No, that's wonderful. I think that's something that I think these people would certainly appreciate. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, you did mention already the law of one, but you also mentioned the raw material. Can you explain a little bit about the raw material?
Yes. So Ra is the entity that is being channeled, and that's what the law of one material is. So these group of people, 3 people, they channeled this 6th density entity, and the entity itself is actually a collective consciousness. And they tell that this collective consciousness originally derived from Venus, long ago, and yeah, basically brought some information back to humankind that we could use to, especially through this time, I think, to help us and assist us on our awakening journeys.
Well, you know, because when you say the word Ra, I think Egyptian, you know,
Yes,
the god Ra. I mean, does that have a connection
it's the
there as
same.
well? It is the
So
same.
it's the same energy, yes.
Oh, that's fascinating. Oh, that's
Yeah.
fascinating. Wow.
The
It,
the law of one material has been, I don't think there's been more than 1 or 2 weeks over the last 3 years that I haven't done some sort of inquiry or study into the work, because I'm just always going back there. It's so valuable, and it's grounding. It makes sense for me. It's almost as if I've read this before, and it's like deep knowings and deep wisdoms that I'm rereading. So
is
I do
is
highly recommend.
is this a book that's out there now that people can obtain that talks
Yeah,
about
so
that?
they were, yep, so they were originally audio, or done through audio, and they've been written, and you can purchase the books or you can read it online. The website is LL Research, or you can go to lawofone.info. I find the lawofone.info very interesting because with the website itself, you can actually search specific categories and words, which I think is always really fun. You can delve into the solar system history or tarot, or, you know, there's like sexual energy transfer, the densities. It's very interesting.
Well, I tell you, you know, these are the types of things that there's so many facets of existence, if you will, that we don't understand, and that there's so many things that we can learn. And I uh, I am just absolutely blown away by the amount of interest and research that you have done to look at this whole topic, and then be able to help people with this. And that's incredible to me. Another question, you mentioned that you're a reptilian representative. Let's talk about that a little bit.
I think that we hold a lot of fear. And And I think that our fear can definitely cloud our judgment. And the thing about my working with the reptilian is I don't think I ever had any preconceived idea, because I purposely didn't want to look at any information about reptilians, because I just knew that it was going to be heavily distorted and full of fear. So for that reason, I just never engaged with it. I wasn't interested in knowing about it. I just didn't care. And I just realized that if it was of best interest to me, that it would probably come in, and it did. The energies are very intense, and they are, they're not light and fluffy, but at the same time, they are authentic, very direct. When they say they're going to do something, it's almost instantaneous. So they have a great deal of honor. I really, really enjoy working with these energies. And what I've realized over my time is that a lot of this reptilian energy, we've held in a negative place for such a long time, and it is not helpful for the planet to heal, and it's not helpful for humans to heal by continuing to perpetuate that separation.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the reality is that the entire planet is run by these dark, malevolent entities, if that really is the truest truth that we can access right now, then how is it beneficial to be holding fear and again perpetuating that separation with this energy? I do believe that we need to find a way to integrate and balance out these energies within ourselves, so that we come to that peace within ourselves as well, and with our neighbor.
Well, that's really good. I do have to ask you this, because this has come up before with regard to the reptilians. Did you have more than just a casual relationship with them, or was it more intimate in nature?
No, it's never been like intimate, but in terms, this reptilian, I work with a couple, but I work with one that's not under the draconian empire at all. And it's a red reptilian, and it was the first one I made contact with. And this reptilian, this energy, I feel a deeper love than I've ever felt on this planet.
I'm glad you're bringing this up, because I have heard more positive things about the reptilians as opposed to the negative things.
Well, there are some, so back to the representative term, I suppose, a reptilian representative. A lot of that reptilian energy from the higher layers has fractalized down into this reality now at this time, so that we can make peace with that. Because I think that a lot of those reptilians in those higher layers are not wanting to be under the oppression that they've been under anymore. So they themselves are starting to break away. And that's what, I guess that's why I'm here, because not only have I realized that it's time to break away from that, but I'd also like to help other people be at peace and, not reject those, because we all have those aspects of us with it. We've all got reptilian genetics. And so if we're denying that aspect, we're denying that aspect of ourselves, and we're not completely healed.
So it's fascinating to me that you've been so involved with that. Moving on from that aspect, you also mentioned the fact that you were part of the hybridization process. Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Yeah, sure. So The hybridization process I wasn't completely actually aware of until I started speaking to more experiences and had somebody channel some information for me, which confirmed it. But I do believe they use our genetics, and I think that some days I wonder if that there was one I was connecting with that I thought may have sort of presented as sort of like two together, but I'm not quite sure about that. So I do know, I can confirm that there are two that I have channeled and connected with. And what I find beautiful about this connection is that what they somewhat described to me is that they feel when we feel. So as much as me connecting, opening myself up, my heart and my soul to be able to experience them on where they are, they're actually doing the same thing with us when that process occurs. So when we open our heart and our soul, they're also able to have that shared experience, which they're not able to do from those higher layers.
Do you feel what do you feel that the reason for this process, this hybridization process, is going on? What are your thoughts on that?
It's all to keep the line going. I mean, that's the only reason that that source creates. It's to expand. So I suppose it's like any genetic line. When the line seems to be not doing so well, changes need to be made to keep the line running clear and strong.
Oh yeah, oh that's fantastic. You know, you all said in your bio that you have worked with a mantis, and this is something that a lot of people talk about, that they may be abducted by grays, but that there's also a mantis type of a being that's involved, that seems to be an overseer of what's going on. And so, can you tell us a little bit about that in detail? How did that come about?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked about the mantis, because the mantis is, at least the one I work with, is a geneticist. So it oversees a lot of the hybridization programs. I believe this is a common thing. So they must be overseeing a lot of these programs and ensuring that, like I mentioned before, that they stay clear of disease and things like that. The mantis was actually the very first entity that I channeled and that I visually saw. So what was actually really interesting about that is that it originally came through, and it was only for about a split second as a gray. And then it just quickly reformed itself, and it was mantis. And it was no doubt to me that it was a mantis, but I'd always kind of wondered about that little beginning where it kind of changed. And the more I've found out, that makes sense, that it was maybe reflecting to me that aspect of how it works with the being that I contact.
These things are just mind-boggling, especially to people that have never, ever had any kind of contact in this way, shape, or form. And so I truly appreciate people like yourself that have that capability and capacity to better understand this phenomena. And so at this point, I think I'd like to just let you tell the audience, in wrapping this up, what do you want to tell the audience, at this point, and what would you like to leave them with before we close?
I think that the two biggest things I can think of is to free yourself from your ego and to explore the unseen. They are the two most important things at the moment, to completely break free of your old conditioning, your beliefs, your ideologies, strip them away, free yourself, and then just become that child again and start playing and enjoy. Because there's no right or wrong. And like you said, there is so much to experience. And as humans, I don't think we are all quite completely able to conceptualize to the fullest extent all of these things. And so there is no answer, there is no right or wrong, but we need to explore them, and we need to become interested, and we need to play.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think that's a great way to close this. And thank you, Saly, for being on our show tonight. And I want to thank you. I want to thank our listeners. As a nonprofit organization, Opus, we survive on donations. So if you have the will and the ability to donate, go to our website at opusnetwork.org and contribute whatever you can. There's a donate button there. There's a lot of interesting information. We also are always looking for more mental health practitioners and also a certified hypnotherapist. One of the things that we do for people that come to us is that we have a totally confidential online support group that you can be put into. We have almost 400 people from around the world that are talking 24/7. And we also, as I say, we have a referral network of mental health practitioners and certified hypnotherapists that if you need that kind of help, and we're always looking for those types of people, because I think with all the congressional hearings that are going on here in the United States, talking about the UAPs and the fact that we have crashed UFOs, we have alien bodies, that these people that are having experiences are basically having confirmation of the fact that something is happening, and it's happened to them probably. And so again, Saly, thank you so much. Saly, by the way, for those listeners down in Australia, especially Tasmania area where Saly is from, she's a representative for Opus. So if you need any help, you can contact Saly, and she can get you into the support group and or referral to a therapist of some type that you're looking for. So thank you, Saly. We really appreciate you tonight, and stay on here, and we'll chat a little bit more. Thanks.